Okay, so when you're plating bacteria, yeast, whatever it is, you want to, of course, wear gloves and use pretty good sterile technique. Before you begin pipetting anything, you want to start by labeling your plates. You always label the agar side of your plate, and you do it around the edge so that way you don't block your view of the majority of your plate. Include things like your name, the date, your lab room, what you're putting on the plate, any treatments that you're doing, things like that. Once you've got your plate labeled and you're ready to actually do the plating, you'll want to start by turning on your Bunsen burner. So you turn the gas all the way open and flame. If it doesn't light immediately and you try a few times, you might want to turn the gas off, kind of wave your hands around to dissipate the gas again. When you're done with the Bunsen burner, you just turn the gas all the way to the off position. All right, so now you're ready to plate. Here we're going to just use green stuff to plate because maybe you'll be able to see it. But when you're using bacteria or yeast, before you plate, you vortex them. Otherwise, they might have settled to the bottom and you won't pull out anything. So you pipette out however much you need to plate. Remember, sterile technique, so keeping lids on things as much as possible to avoid air exposure. And just squirt it onto the center of the plate. Okay, now you're ready to spread. So you first want to sterilize your spreader. So you dip it in the alcohol, keeping the alcohol far from the flame. You just run it through the flame. Don't keep it in the flame. You don't want to superheat it. That would be bad. Wait a few seconds so it gets to cool down, and then you plate. Put the spreader on the agar, not directly onto your bacteria or yeast initially. If you do that and your spreader's really hot, you might hear some Rice Krispie noises, which would be your yeast or bacteria popping open. And then to spread, you can see you go back and forth with the spreader. Make sure you go all the way against the wall of the plate, and you use your other hand to just continually turn the plate. Do that until you feel like you've covered the whole plate relatively evenly. Put the lid back on, and it might take a minute or two for the plate to dry. When you're done, you always end by re-sterilizing the spreader so you're not taking your bacteria, yeast, whatever, and putting it onto our clean countertop. Another thing I want to mention that students sometimes mess up is they overheat the spreader, so don't leave it in the flame. And if you flame it and then you feel like you need to sterilize again for whatever reason, it touches something maybe and you think it might be dirty, don't put it directly into the alcohol when it's hot. You could set your alcohol dish on fire. Okay, so I think that's it. Just remember to always turn your Bunsen burner off and clean up your area when you're done.